Hello, this is my first video, and today I'll be making a basic calculator in C++. So to get started, we're going to include Iostream. And what this this is including a file that allows us to get input and output from the user. It'll make a little more sense in just a minute. Next, what you want to do is using Namespace Std. Now what this does is it's mainly used in short programs, and it just standardizes everything so that you don't have to do it manually. The next thing you want to do is you want to make your main function. So int main, and then we're going to return this to 0. So there you have it. You have a basic program, and if you run this, it does absolutely nothing, but it's a program. So now what we want to do, we want to make this program actually be a calculator. So now we need to get input from the user and store it as a variable. So what we're going to do is double in a calculator. Let's just say it's 2 numbers. So let's say first input, and then equals, and let's say 0.0. Okay, so now what a double is a double is basically a really big number that can have decimals. So now that we have our first double and we declared it as the first input, next we're going to need another double as the second input. So now that we've declared the variables, so we could run the program again, but it still will just print out nothing because these are equal to 0. So now what we're going to do is we're going to now write cout and then say what is the first number, and we might as well just end L just to clean that up a little bit. Alright, so now basically what cout is it is the output section of Iostream, and what it basically will do is it will display on the screen what is the first number. And then this end L right here, this basically just ends the line. And so next what we need to do is we've asked them what is the first number. So now we need to get that first number. So I'm going to use cin and then first input. And then remember your colon. Now that we have this, still this entire program will do absolutely nothing. It will ask them their number, but it won't do anything with it. So now let's just say let's display their number. Alright, so basically to display their number, what you want to do is use cout again, and then put this variable as it says what is the first number. Let's say 10, and it prints out 10. We are going to actually remove the cout because we don't need it. So now what we have to do, we have to do the same exact thing, but get the second number from the person. Alright, so I just went ahead and typed it all out, and it should look something like this. And so now this program stores 2 values for these 2 variables. Alright, so next, since this is a calculator, what we're going to do is we're going to need to determine what they're going to do with these 2 numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a string. I'm going to call this string sign. And a string can be 0 or more characters. So I'm just going to leave no spaces in that. Alright, so now that we have a variable for our sign, we're going to make a cout statement for this, like we did before. Alright, so once again, I went ahead and just typed this all out. And basically, I'm asking them what would they like to do: add, subtract, multiply, or divide. and then whatever they type, that will be stored as sign. Now that we have this basic program, we have all our variables stored. Let's just go ahead and label things so we don't forget what everything does. Now, in a basic program like this, it's very easy to tell what everything does, but just for the sake of doing it, let's say this will be determining inputs. And notice how this is green. This is green because I commented it out. If you put 2 slashes in front of a line, the program will not read it. So let's do the same thing for this cout. Let's do determining sign. And then up here, let's just say inputs. Alright, so now we have everything labeled. We'll get all the inputs we need. So now we need to actually build the program. What we are going to do is we're going to use an if statement. So basically, this is what an if statement looks like. So for this example, we're using an if statement, but we could, if we wanted to, use a switch statement, which I will explain that in a later video. So let's just stick with an if statement for now. Alright, so in order for this if statement to work, we need to give it some parameters. So let's say if sign, that's the sign right here, is equal to, so let's say add. So you notice this isn't going to work, see? Now, in order to fix this, real easy fix. Let's just turn sign into a variable. So up here on string, let's make it a int. And then let's define this as 0. Like so. And then right here, put a 1 space 2 3 4. And then right here on this if statement, if sign is equal to 1. Now under this if statement, we will do else if sign is equal to 2. And then basically what you want to do is keep putting else ifs for each one of these numbers. Alright, so once you have your entire if statement done, it should look something like this. So if sign is equal to 1, we're going to add. So what we're going to do is we're going to do cout, and we're going to do first input plus second input, and then don't forget your semicolon, and then do the same thing for each one of these, and leave the else blank for now. Alright, so now that you've converted everything to their proper symbols, then now we can do the else. So for the else, say they enter something wrong, like say they enter the number 3. Then what we can do is we can do system and then per the quotation marks CLS. What this does, this will clear the screen, and then we can cout you entered an incorrect choice. And then make sure you end L this, or then it will come up here and it will put this on the same line as that. So end L that. And then what we want to do is return this all the way back up here to the main function. So just return main. Alright, so now this program is now complete, but just a last rundown. We have our Iostream, which allows input and output. We have everything standardized. We have our main function. We got our descriptions. We got our variables. We declare the variables. We declare the symbol. And then we do the actual equation. And then we restart the program if they enter something wrong. If they enter add, subtract, multiply, or divide wrong. And then down here we have return 0. So if they enter it right and it breaks out, it will basically return true. Alright, so now if we debug, start without debugging, what is the first number? Let's do something easy. Let's do 10. What is the second number? Let's do, say, 10 again. What would you like to do? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Let's say add. Now when I hit enter, this should be 20. And it's 20. So now if I close this, and now run it again, now if you look, all of these are the exact same. So for the sake of the video, I'm not going to be testing all of those. But let's just see what will happen if we enter something wrong. So what is the first number? 10, and then random numbers, it doesn't really matter. What would you like to do? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Let's say we enter 5. It clears the screen and it asks what is the first number again up here. And then we can do this all day long. Enter 5 again, and it will just keep displaying wrong. Alright, so there you have it. That is a basic tutorial on how to build a basic calculator in C++. And later I will optimize it and add more options and fix this up, because this can be cleaned up a lot. This if statement. So until next time, like, comment any of your questions, and maybe sub if you want to see more of these videos. Take care.